Michael Fair from FilmFestivalCircuit.com and the director of the Oregon Screams Horror Film Festival. We just wrapped up the Oregon Screams Horror Film Festival Summer 2022 at the Clinton Street Theater near downtown Portland on August the 21st. One of the films that we screened was called Becky, and I'm here to talk about that film with director Nicole Ihasz. Hello, Nicole. How are you?
Hi, Michael. I'm great. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm excellent. Just love showcasing these horror films and all the buzz that goes on after the festival. People talking about them. Great reception for yours. So congrats on being nominated for Best Director. Congrats on having a great screening. And I wish you could have been there, but hopefully we'll see you at a future event because I think that you'll like the reaction that people have to your film. So good job.
Thank you. And thank you for the honor of having me in the festival. It's amazing. And I do wish I could have been there. Unfortunately, I was on set, but otherwise I would be there because I know how incredible it is to meet other filmmakers and get to talk about your project and hear about theirs. And so thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries. I was looking at the judges' scorecards before the event, and everything that jumped out in the first few comments were just great edit, great cinematography, great production. People just really like the look of your film, how you fit it all together. Sometimes people don't understand. I was writing a description for the Best Director Award the other day because somebody asked me, so what does Best Director mean? You just kind of liked how the actors interacted? It's like, well, that's part of it. The Best Director Award comes from someone who has like the most complete and fluid story from front to back, where the actors seem like they were cast properly, coached properly, where, the scenes stick together. It's not just about being director of photography. It's not just about being an editor, but it's about making sure that the entire production flows from front to back in a cohesive and strong piece. And that's where the judges put you. It's like you hit such a high mark in so many areas. That's what they decided to nominate you for.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job. So that being said, I have a habit of giving away too much information when I tell people about films. So I'm going to have you give us a synopsis for Becky.
Sure. So at its core, Becky is a campy 80s horror movie, and it's a satire on bullying. So I wanted to make a very fun film about a girl that kind of reached her limit when she finally hears that these bullies had spread this awful rumor about her father. And so she wanted to take matters into her own hands and seek revenge. So Becky does get her revenge in a very interesting way. But it really, at its core, was a satire on bullying, because when you look at the statistics of how many kids are bullied these days, it's incredible. And, in the 80s, it was usually to-your-face bullying. And now we have kids hiding behind computers and phones. And so I just wanted to do something a little tongue-in-cheek, I'm not saying go, take down your bullies, but that was really what it is at its core. It's a satire on bullying.
All right. And I guess you kind of got into this already. My next question is what motivated you specifically? Is there like a personal story or from a friend, or is it something happen where you're like, I got to make this? What was your motivation for making this film?
So that's a really good question. I had written, over the course of a few months, I had written a few horror scripts, feature scripts. And I had been on the side of investing before. And now I was on the side of trying to get a movie made as a new writer. And I took some meetings with some really interesting people in the horror space in Hollywood. And the reaction was, look, you're new voice. Why don't you go have a short made? Why don't you get a director and have your short made? So I said, okay. And I had been thinking about, I wanted to do a short. I was inspired by Aerosmith's music video for Crazy, when the girls get in the car and go on the drive. And then I was thinking, okay, let's make a horror twist, mess it up. And bullying had been a subject that I wanted to tackle. And after meeting with a couple of, my producer, who's my brother from another mother, Marco De Molina, and a couple of cinematographers, what they were saying to me was, why don't you direct this? And I thought, well, the doubt shadow kind of was like, what do you know about directing? And I had some more conversations, and I said to my producer, I said, give me, he's done music videos, so he can do something in days and get you up and running. And I said, just give me a month. I'm going to read as many books as I can, and I just want to come on set as knowledgeable as I can. Obviously, I know what I know and I know what I don't know. But I knew that the team that was working on Becky, some people knew me, some people didn't. And the people that didn't know me, I've heard horror stories from, people working with first time directors. And I knew that they didn't have to, they weren't necessarily going to respect me on day one, but I knew that my job was by the end of the shoot to earn their respect. So after I did the research and I laid everything out, I felt comfortable directing. And so I also knew that if this is a short and I'm putting time and money and everything into this, um, if it's not going to work, then let that be on me. Let that be on me. So Becky I wrote it on a trip flying from LA to New York, and I had my team in place and I said, all right, let's do this. And that was really it. It was just wanting to put my voice out there as a new writer. And then I looked at jumping on as a director as an education. I didn't go to school for this. I just read what I've been on some sets here. From A to Z, if I'm involved in this, I get to see how a film comes together. And that also was a big piece for me. It was an education. And third, I became hooked, booked, and cooked as a director. I loved it. And my team, I mean, they were incredible. I know people have said, don't get used to this. This was a one-off experience, but I feel so lucky because, I hope they would say I had their back, but they certainly had mine. And it was, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of them. And yeah, so that's why I put the focus on Becky. And I like horror. I like writing it.
Well, I was going to ask you about how you got into the business. You kind of covered that. So great. But I am going to ask you did you learn anything from this production? Maybe something, and this is what I mean by this. In my view, shooting short films is kind of film school. Like getting that process, like you said, do something front to back first. I've met people before that just want to just come out the first time, just direct a feature. And it's like, why don't you make a few mistakes on a short first? Why don't you learn how hard it is to get things through post and completed and have cross all the T's and dot all the I's? Why don't you understand what it is to do a 9-minute film before you do a 90-minute film? What did you learn on Becky?
So I would say one of the biggest things I learned is you can plan for everything, right? But you don't know until you get there. Something could go wrong, something could change. And you have to go with that kind of woo-saw mentality, if you will. Like if you are so married to something specific and it goes wrong, I've heard that, there's people can't get over that. So I knew go in there and things may change and you've got to just change with them. You have to have that mentality of, okay, if this doesn't work, then I've got these other possibilities. So I'll give you an example. We, for the scenes where the girls are driving, we wanted a process trailer for that. Because they have to do a lot of acting. There's a stunt scene, where she's out of the roof of the car. And so we did all of that. We got the permits. We contacted County Highway Patrol. We got the trailer. And we're on set. We're shooting in the morning. This is day one. And there's the trailer. And I'm finishing a scene and I can see Marco walking over to me with a look on his face. And I said, what's going on? And he said, they won't put the car on the trailer. I said, what do you mean? That's our whole afternoon. And he said, County Highway Patrol didn't show up. So they won't put the car on the trailer. So I can distinctly remember everyone around just looking at that moment of like, what's going to happen? Is her head just going to pop off? And I remember I just looked at him and I giggled a little. I said, okay, so what do we got? What do we do? And Ernesto, my DP, was amazing. He's like, well, got a hostess tray, let's do this. And the way I could cry thinking about it, the way I saw that team, most who never had worked with me or met me before, rise to an occasion. And I felt like they were treating this set and this shot like we were on a Spielberg film. I mean, it was amazing to watch. And did I get all the shots I wanted that day? No. Were we running out of light? Yes. But we pulled it off, and it's because of that team and the crew that came together to do that. So yeah, I think in that moment, I that was a learning for me. Like, okay, as the producer mind, I'm like, whoa, I just blew a ton of money that I could probably have used for a third day of the shoot, and that's just gone. And as a director, it was just, that's your job. Your job on set is to keep it calm and keep everyone doing what they need to do. And um, that was just that moment for me was, oof, okay, this is terrible, but I'm not going to dwell on it. What are the facts versus the stories? I could go into a million stories and spiral. The fact is, I can't put the car in that trailer. So what are we going to do? So I go talk to the actors, talk to the team, we figure it out. And I have to say, the actors, those ladies, really, Joy and Kat, they shined because we did not have a lot of time and we had to move really fast.
Yeah, that's a great story. That's a great story. And that's a heck of a learning experience, both financially and experience wise. But you'll always remember that. You always remember that hurdle. And that's, appreciate you being transparent about that. So, in the future, I understand you're working on some other projects. Is there anything else that's ever going to happen with Becky? Was that a one-time thing? And if not, no sequels, no series, anything like that. If not, what else are you working on?
So yeah, Becky to me felt like a one-time thing. I just felt like the story was just there, and I've been asked before. uh, I sit with it sometimes and think, could it be something more? But I really just I liked where it was, and I didn't feel like I needed to go into so many of the other characters' backstories and things like that. In terms of the future, so right now I'm directing two documentary films, which I'm really excited about. One is about a friend of mine who became a quadriplegic in her 20s, and she started an online dating experiment that has now she started blogging about it, and that blog, sharing her experiences with people out there, has turned into her advocacy platform. And so we are following her while she's doing some incredible things. And then the other one is about a friend of mine who was a world champion polo player. And it's about athletes and what happens when you're at the height of your career and you injure out of the sport. What does that do to you mentally? How do you find new passions? So I'm very excited about those. But I really still am itching to make my first horror feature. So I am in development on a few horror features and some television series. One is a horror, and another's a fantasy set in the kind of supernatural world. And another one is about a retired command sergeant major um, who was injured. She commanded 30,000 troops in Afghanistan and suffered a life-changing injury, and her story is incredible. She actually just won the ESPYs, the Pat Tillman Award at the ESPYs this year. So,
oh my goodness,
yeah, so really excited about all of those, and yeah, they pulled me in different directions, and I love it. And as we were talking about before, you learn so much working on different projects and working with different people. But yes, I am itching to make my horror feature called Cove Neck. So that will be coming at some point.
all right, good stuff. Well, you got a lot going on. I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to do this today. Like I said, you got a warm embrace from Oregon. I think that your film played very well, and I think that the judges were very, very impressed. I mean, I didn't see a bad mark, a bad scorecard. You really did your thing. We would have never known, some of the issues you had on set, or that was your first time directing, because that was really, really, really a good production. So is there anything else you'd like to add before we leave?
I'd love to thank the judges and the Oregon Horror Film Festival for having Becky, and I really appreciate it. And it's nice to hear that it was so well received. I wish I could have been there to see the audience reaction, but thank you for letting me know. It's great.
You're very welcome. Well, I appreciate your time. Have a good day.
Thank you.